Part 20 is now in session. Whatever happened to SpongeBob? It all begins with SpongeBob frolicking around, being all cheerful and all that stuff. But everyone acts so hateful and spiteful to him. Patrick Star, Squidward Tentacles, Mr. Krabs, even Sandy Cheeks, who acted like a complete total bitch to SpongeBob by calling him Idiot Boy. And SpongeBob becomes heartbroken and walks away. Everyone feels guilty. They go to SpongeBob's house, but then they saw the note that SpongeBob is leaving and is never coming back. And then they run into the Krusty Krab and they show the note that SpongeBob had done, and everyone felt terrible what they'd done. They feel guilty and they have to bring SpongeBob back. Then SpongeBob wakes up the other day and he knows that there were people in there, and he goes into the town. He starts blowing bubbles, and then everyone seems to hate him for blowing bubbles. And yeah. But after when SpongeBob had saw those bad guys and used the bubbles to stop them, everyone was thankful for what he'd done. And they made SpongeBob the mayor. And SpongeBob is now happy that he was the mayor. And his friends saw SpongeBob. They found him and they convinced that they should bring him back home, but SpongeBob doesn't even remember anything thanks to this bump that he had. And then Mr. Krabs gave Squidward the egg that he promised after when he brought him back to the Krusty Krab. But the egg then cracks into SpongeBob's head, and SpongeBob has a bump again, and he remembers everything. But SpongeBob was like, nah, I think I'll go back to being a mayor. But after when he saw the news that it was the town that SpongeBob was chaotic, SpongeBob was back at the Krusty Krab. And then SpongeBob is staying forever, and Squidward takes his brain and throws it out. Really?
Safe way to celebrate.
What kind of ending was that? Besides, that was the worst SpongeBob special I've seen. This is by far the worst. Everyone acting so mean-spirited. The director had no idea of how mean-spirited this would be. And guess what? It turns out to be not only mean-spirited, but also one of the very worst SpongeBob specials ever. I don't know what the director was thinking when they made. Even take a look at this scene. How is this satisfying the kids, huh? You really done fucked up this SpongeBob big time. Way to go, directors. Trying to give kids nightmares. Okay, moving on. I don't want to talk about it. This was the worst SpongeBob special ever. Even this was very disgusting and nightmarish to look at. The director had no idea of how to make a good one, but yet this one was the shittiest one out of all of the other ones. So yeah, I don't want to talk about it. It sucks. Number 19 I have Don't Look Now. In this one, SpongeBob and Patrick were getting ready to watch a film, and it was a horror film. And then when they saw the fisherman, they freaked out. They watched the movie several times not to freak out, but they did. Even when they said they're not afraid of anything, they were bunches of crybabies when they watched it. Hypocrites. They were bunches of hypocrites. They said they were brave, but they acted like little babies when they watched Fisherman. What a bunch of hypocrites they are. After when the movie theater was closed, they walked back home and they were too scared because of the fisherman to go back home. And they have become so petrified of this stupid fisherman so bad, it comes to the point where Squidward's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna dress as a fisherman to teach them a lesson about being scared. And eventually Squidward then decides to dress as a fisherman to scare the living fuck out of them. He goes to Patrick's first. And Patrick freaks out and goes to SpongeBob, warning that the fisherman's here, and they all try to do something to prevent the fisherman to come in to kill them. But then the fisherman, when they saw that the fisherman was actually Squidward, they actually beat the living hell out of Squidward for being a fisherman. Squidward is now injured and is taken to the hospital. But then the ghost fisherman had scared all three of them, and they ran into this ambulance truck, and it was actually Gary. Wow, that was a really terrible episode. If you thought Roller Cowards was bad, this was even worse. It's no wonder why SpongeBob and Patrick are such cowards. They can't even do anything to protect themselves or save their lives. And plus, it was boring. Yeah, that was a very boring episode. I don't know what the director was thinking when they thought this was going to be good when it was actually not. It was boring as all hell. Stop making SpongeBob and Patrick looking like little kids like that. That's just a very shitty excuse. And the plot was absolutely shitty. And I don't think I have anything else to say. So don't look now. It was terrible. Abysmal. And it was just annoying and boring. Okay. Number 18 is To Love a Patty. You know, this is one of the creepiest episodes that ever I've seen. It starts out with SpongeBob making Krabby Patties. And then SpongeBob made a unique one that had a smile, and he becomes so addicted that he falls in love with a sandwich, which is creepy as fuck. Squidward takes the Krabby Patty and gives it to this customer, and he freaks out that he doesn't want anyone to eat that patty. And Squidward's like, are you gonna take it home and do something really stupid with this? And SpongeBob's like, great idea, Squidward. And he gives the customer a grilled shoe patty. Oh my, who comes up with this stupid shit like this? Oh my god. And SpongeBob asks this Krabby Patty what's cooking, and And then he takes the Krabby Patty and yeah. There was a fire, but then Gary puts out the fire and he says, "You're safe now, my dear." And then he hears the doorbell and he gets it. It was Patrick and he asks to play a game with him, but SpongeBob had already made plans. Sandy comes and wants to play karate, but SpongeBob eventually says no to both and has a date with Patty, and he sings this horrendous song. And then the Krabby Patty had started to rot and starting to stink as well. And SpongeBob was like, "Are you okay, my dear? Don't worry, we'll go to the Krusty Krab." And then Mr. Krabs bitches where SpongeBob is. And then he sees SpongeBob all dressed up for his date, which is actually a Krabby Patty. And Squidward's like, "You look absolutely fucked up ridiculous, SpongeBob." And then it comes to the point where the Krabby Patty had became so stinky that it started to stink around the Krusty Krab. It eventually made two customers sleep because of that smell. It was so bad. And then they were having a peaceful date when Squidward comes and he's like, "Get rid of this stupid, shitty, stinky Krabby Patty smell. It stinks around here." And Sponge was like, "Don't! I don't want to. She's just a little sick." And Squidward's like, "How beautiful do you think this is?" After when Sponge was like, "What are you doing with my beautiful planet?" I don't want to discuss what happens in this. The image was disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. But then SpongeBob realized how stinky and how bad the patty was, and he freaks out. And Mr. Krabs confesses that he had a Krabby Patty as much as SpongeBob does. And then he confesses that Krabby Patties were meant to be loved and eaten, and SpongeBob sacrifices himself to eat it, and SpongeBob then eats it, and Mr. Krabs awards him, and he's like, "Can I please get a doggy bag with that?" Really? That was a very disturbing and creepiest and possibly the cringe-worthy episode. How do you fall in love with a sandwich and all of a sudden it becomes stinky? Oh my god, that was the creepiest and cringe-worthy episode I've ever seen. Nobody should date a sandwich. If you do, it will stink around, and then it won't be pretty for you if it starts to stink. I don't know what the fuck director was thinking when they thought it was funny, when it was actually disturbing and cringeworthy. This is the shittiest excuse ever. And it's also, the plot is nothing but shit. Honest to God, where did this thing, who comes with stuff like that? Where does these stuff come from? Oh my god. This was terrible. So yeah, To Love a Patty was a horrible episode, and it's a poor excuse for a kids show with this episode.